Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Oh, I wish I was there.
I wish I was in London as well.
Yeah, it's a curious time in the world, isn't it?
And where are you right now?
This is my studio. It's in Earl's Court. I moved in Christmas 1969. Basically painting in this room, and then the next room I have my computer and I'm working on a film and video at the moment. None of my videos are planned. They're not storyboarded. They're not scripted. They evolve. The one I'm working on at the moment is called Somehow. The imagery evolved from things I'd used before and before and before and before and before and before. I keep on thinking, oh, I've used that before. But somehow they become different. My paintings have stayed pretty consistent in that I use flat color, I use acrylic, I do more painting on the floor than I do upright. This painting, it's my local green space, but it's a graveyard. But right now, it's the only place people can go in the neighborhood. So it's full of families and children and people picnicking, which is kind of very strange. Last year, I was maybe a month from being able to finish the canvas. My finishing process is a tiny paintbrush on a big canvas, and I collapsed and I ended up in intensive care. And when I came out, I could barely stand, and then I had to have chemotherapy. And that was like I was painting a graveyard and I nearly ended up in it. And I painted the word hope. I think art is very grounding to the spirit. To make art, you have to learn to lose yourself. When it's a solo project, which most art is, then we have that communion between us and the work. That's a privilege in the first place. So I just reflect. That's what I say. I just reflect with humor. And humor is the most important thing to keep us going in life. But I don't like comedy, and I don't like comedians particularly. I do like laughing. I do like laughing.
In the beginning, I didn't know that I want to become an artist. My first idea was to study medicine, to become a psychoanalyst. When I was 18 in a trip here, I was so impressed about how, even if it was closed by a wall, how free was the atmosphere here. So I came, but of course this changing of context made an issue about my belonging, where I belong to. I am Armenian origin. Since we had this big fracture in our history, and my grandparents were survivors, I had also that part to deal with. And of course, I began with drawing and painting, but always I had this necessity, let's say, of doing collage, like paper over paper, and then putting like some wool on it, and then like photographs. And then I began to work with the photography and make crochet around photographs. And this is telling something about my history. I never was afraid. I mean, even if I was not in art university, in the moment I thought, I would like to do this. I just did it, and learning by doing, I went forward. Since 2 years, I'm working a body of work about votives. I'm working with the relationship between objects and desire or thoughts, wishes. This comes from memory. It's not that I stopped to do memory work, but I was very much with my gaze on the past. Sometimes people think that art is something that is superfluous, and in times where it's really like life and death and that matters, they think, oh, what is art about? But they are wrong, because art is the solely space where people can really go out of them with their imagination. And I think in the worst moments creativity is the most important thing, how to deal with. So this is not that creativity to have a canvas on the wall. Creativity is a whole attitude in life.
I like levels. I like when you look at something and you take a second look, you see something you didn't see the first time. I used to do these life-size statues larger than life. They were like 7 feet tall. And then when I stopped doing sculpture and started painting, I couldn't deal with the flat surface. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is real, like thick impasto. I love 3D, and I feel like I'm more of a sculptor than I am a painter, actually. I always start in the middle of the painting with one black line going across. For many years, I only worked in black and white. So I paint these black and white first. Then I add the color. You know, New York City has such a creative energy behind it that, like, I'm in here in lockdown and I look out and I see windows and you just know that there's like so much creativity going on in all these apartments. This has been like explosion for me. I've been extremely prolific. One painting ends, the next one begins. So on my floor, all of our neighbors have gone. They fled New York, and when you get off the elevator, it's empty. And I've been using that as like my gallery. I have ruled this floor now. I do feel like this is a time for artists to step up.
So a lot's been going on since I started filming. There's been 12, 13 days of protests and riots for Black Lives Matter, and coronavirus is still going strong, but things are opening in California and around the world. So I wanted to go and do my first face-to-face interview with Chaz Guest, and it's the first person I've really seen in 4 months. So here I go.
In Africa, I found the missing puzzle to what was taken away from me as an African American. And that lost familiarity rung true. So then I, as you can tell by my studio, is Japanese and African, you know, mixed with my southern roots of my grandparents and parents. It gets really bizarre, but you know, I'll have on a suit jacket with a kimono. It gets really, but it's authentic. Oh, I really love this painting. I haven't seen this painting in a long time. I love this painting. And this painting here just came back from the Torrance Museum of Art. And this is my superhero that I created called Buffalo Warrior. So right now I'm working on a commissioned portrait, but I'm anxious to finish it because I want to get on to painting what is happening now. And I have a 10-foot flag. We were in the Hamptons and my friend wanted to go antiquing. Okay, so I followed them antiquing and I found this flag. And I'm going to stretch it and I'm going to paint what is happening today. Besides the death and the sickness, this is a perfect storm. There is no way that you can lock people up for 3 months and then have somebody lynched in front of your own eyes. And then there's nothing to do. And you're pissed off and you're at home and all of that energy goes into watching those two men, Aubrey hunted down like an animal, this guy lynched in broad daylight. Wow. My white fellow Americans need to understand the atrocities we've been through. And what I think about it is that there had to come a time whereby people needed to wake up. If you're going to do something, the time is now. And I'm loaded. I'm loaded.